Welcome to our panel on sports and sustainability. My name is Leidy Klotz. I'm a professor at the University of Virginia. I have an appointment in engineering, but I do mostly behavioral science research, studying how we can make more sustainable decisions. And the reason I got to host this amazing panel is because I used to play professional soccer before I became a professor. And I'm thrilled because with us today, we have a couple of far more accomplished professional athletes than I was, but also some very great environmental thinkers and doers. And I'm going to introduce them one at a time here. First is Caffari, and she is the first woman to sail around the world in both directions and is still an active sailor racing to this day. On her travels, Dee gets to see firsthand the ocean plastic pollution. So Dee, could you tell us a little bit more about your environmental initiatives?
Sure, Leidy. Thank you for that introduction, and it's a pleasure to join you here today. Well, with the ocean as my racetrack, my office, and my playground, I feel very privileged. But it does mean that, as you say, I see firsthand the impact that pollution, and particularly plastic, is having. And I've even been involved in some of the science to test the microplastic content of various oceans around the world. And the data reveals that it is much worse than we first thought. I realized I had a voice, and it's my responsibility to protect the area that I love, especially when the ocean acts as a barometer for the planet's health. So I'm trying to use that voice and help where I can.
Terrific. And you certainly are helping, and we'll learn more about your initiatives as we go through the conversation. And our other panelist is Brent Suter. He's a pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers in Major League Baseball, the playoff-bound Milwaukee Brewers, and hopefully following in the Bucks' footsteps and bringing another championship to their city. And Brent, how about telling us a little bit more about what you're doing to address environmental issues?
Yeah, it became an issue that was near and dear to my heart. Starting in 2006, I watched An Inconvenient Truth, and that really just flipped my whole world around. Knew I wanted to study it in college, so studied environmental science, public policy in college, and then fast forward to getting to the big leagues a couple years later, and I kind of went public with some environmental causes. Started a strikeout waste campaign where we tried to encourage teammates, fans, front office members to use reusable bottles rather than plastic bottles, and saved a bunch of waste that way. And then I got involved with Players for the Planet, and we've launched a couple beach cleanup campaigns, a Save the Oceans campaign, One Tree Planted campaign for renewing and beautifying inner cities, and also getting the cities more healthy, and hopefully planting some fruit trees in there to get some good nutrition going. And also some carbon offsets. I launched a program with the American Conservation Coalition last year called Sidelining Carbon, where we're trying to eliminate or offset all the travel, all the CO2 emissions from travel from sports teams by 2025, or trying to get 50% eliminated or offset by 2025. So it's a lofty goal, but we got several teams signed up so far, including the Brewers and the Dallas Mavericks. So we're looking to do that. But yeah, with plastics, it's been a lot of work with Players of the Planet on ocean cleanups and reducing our single-use plastic use.
It's amazing work that you're both doing. It fills me with so much hope. I mean, I talk to undergraduate students in my classes, for example, and we talk about these issues and ways you can address them through a job that's specifically tailored to address these issues. But I also like to point out that they're going to be global citizens. And so having these examples is really helpful for me in my teaching and in communicating to the next generation. One of the reasons we wanted to put this panel together with sports as a theme was to figure out what we could learn from sports. And so I'd like to hear what you both think, and we'll start with Dee, about how we can harness some of the same kind of emotional energy that goes into sports, whether that's from the fans, from the competitors, and what can we learn from that for environmental issues?
I think it's really important that we realize the audience we reach. We reach, as athletes, we can reach in our sports a wide demographic of an audience. And we're battling huge input. People are overloaded with sensory overload, but scientists don't stand a chance in getting their information out there. I think it's something like 70% of the population engage with sports and athletes. So I think we really need to capitalize on that so that we can speak with passion, and we're inspirational role models that hopefully will take people on a journey that we can benchmark by setting examples, doing the actions, not only talking the talk, but walking the walk as well. I think that's quite crucial. I also think that best practice, the next generation idolize their sporting heroes and they want to emulate what they're like. So if you can show that you're doing the right thing, it's going to encourage that. So I think we've got to be really aware of the impact that we can have on the population and use it to our best advantage.
Yeah, I absolutely second what Dee just said about reaching a wide audience and really creating energy, community energy to come together for these problems, especially people that might not be, in quote unquote environmental champions, and kind of turn their hearts, plant seeds of awareness and plant seeds of action. I would also say on the personal health side, a big component of being a professional athlete is keeping your body healthy, keeping a healthy diet. And we're learning more and more how much meat does, it takes a lot of resources environmentally to produce meat. And so athletes may be leading the charge and eating just less meat, if not no meat at all, could really help environmentally.
Yeah, the meat one's really interesting too, because one of the things that you'll hear is that, and it's not accurate, but people will say, well, if we don't eat meat, how are you going to get your protein and how are you going to be a high performing person? And so when an athlete does it and shows it's like, this is somebody at the peak of physical performance who's eating less meat or not eating meat at all, it's a really good example to share with the rest of the world. How have you, I'm just curious, has there been any pushback to your efforts? It's like, kind of shut up and sail, Dee. Don't tell me about the plastic pollution.
No, actually, almost the opposite. And I think because it's a subject that people can relate to, it's tangible. People interact with plastic every single day and they're making life choices with every purchase in the supermarket, with every action they choose to do. And then when I go out onto the ocean and I can take video and have images that highlight this pollution that's out there, and then have the scientific evidence now that we collected on my last round the world, where we sampled the water and proved there are microplastics, even in the depths of the Southern Ocean where there isn't traffic, I think then it brings home the impact it's having. Their bottle that they consumed is now washing along the beaches, washing into the sea, breaking down under UV and wave action into microplastics. And then you make it come back to them in a full circular problem of it gets consumed by the fish. They're eating fish for a healthier lifestyle, so they're now consuming their own rubbish. And I think when you can make it a full circle like that, it has a big impact on people of like, oh, okay, I need to do something about this. And I think then they start to support it. And because sometimes it's that, oh, it's somebody else's problem, it's someone else's beach, or it's someone else's, cause, people don't identify it as their own personal problem. And the thing with oceans is it's international waters and it's everybody's problem. When I got the results from our data, southern west coast of Ireland was beautifully clean of microplastics, but Norway and Scandinavia proved to be really bad with microplastics. And there's no blame, because actually what's happening is the Gulf Stream is moving everything across and it kind of accumulates in Scandinavia. But some of these plastics could start from Florida, for example, and be traveling on the Gulf Stream and following it. So it's understanding how everything interacts. The fact that there's microplastics in the Southern Ocean where people just don't hang out because it is quite miserable down there is because it's broken down and carried on ocean currents. So I think now people are starting to wake up that it's everybody's problem and everybody has a small part to play.
Yeah, it requires us all working together, and it probably requires us working indefinitely into the future to address these things. Do you feel like what you've learned in sports about work ethic and the joy in pursuing something at the limits of your ability kind of carries over to these environmental issues, or is that just too leading of a question? And we'll start with Brent on this one.
Yes, I absolutely see that parallel. We have a saying on our team, we're trying to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So when we're in uncomfortable spots, game on the line, crowd going crazy against us, we want the ball, wanting to make the play, and pushing ourselves that way. So it's the same way with environmental behaviors. There's going to be a transition period where hopefully our society goes from that linear model we have to more of a cyclical model, more sustainable model of reusing and being sustainable with our energy and our grid. And yeah, there's going to be some growing pains, and there's going to be some times where we're going to be uncomfortable, but it's all part of the process of becoming a better society, becoming a better person. Is you got to go through some trials and tribulations and go through the fire a little bit to get melted the right way. So yeah, there's definitely parallels there. I agree.
Yeah, I back that up. I mean, I love that, being comfortable with the uncomfortable, because it's not easy. And if it was easy, then everyone would be doing it. But that's the same with the problem that we're facing. And, you know, people often say when you're pushing for people to change habits, which is what we're trying to do, change a culture, rather than the throwaway disposable culture to be reusable and sustainable. You know, the average person could say, well, what difference does my bottle make? You know, it's just one bottle, but 7 billion people in the planet contributing just one bottle is a big impact. And it's just one press up, it's just one sit up. But you want to be surrounding yourself with your team to be the best that they can be, best version of themselves. And you want to know that the person next to you is going to do that extra one push up. Because if you're going to do it, you want everyone to do it, so that you know that you're trying to be the best you can be. So I think there is a really nice sporting analogy there. And it's tough. The road ahead is tough. But if you want to get to the top, it's, you know, it's a hard, tough mountain to climb.
And I mean, that was perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is the teamwork that goes into sports. The one thing that I did when I was playing soccer, I always would write like a plus on my hand to remind myself that, like, my teammates, 99% of them are not going to be motivated by criticism. And I think that that's something that we're seeing in environmental messaging, that, you know, yeah, you've got to be real about what's going on here, but you've also got to kind of show the positive potential. So yeah, what can we take from sports there, Dee, in terms of, you know, working effectively as teams and some of the joy of working in teams?
Yeah, it's cool how we all come together and we have each other's backs, and we, you know, run through the wall for everybody else. We like to say we're not just playing with each other, but we're playing for each other. So that's something that we really take to heart. And another thing we like to think of is being faucets and not drains. So like positive energy, spouting out support, positive reinforcement for teammates and you know, staff members, everything. And I think it's the same way with environmental issues. If you can be giving out hope, giving out positive energy. So yeah, there's a lot of parallels there with the teamwork we have going on with teams and the teamwork we have going on with humanity with this huge problem we're dealing with.
One of the remarkable things about athletes is, basically, to use your term, do that last push-up, right? What motivates you to do that last push-up, or to do the first push-up of the morning when it's 5 a.m. and everybody's sleeping in? Because I mean, I think the same kind of thing, where these environmental problems require a lot of work, and the benefits are way out there in the future, or, you know, some of the visible benefits are way out there in the future. So how do you do that? How do you can get yourself to keep working for these very long-term goals?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because everybody's inspiration is going to be slightly different. But I'm massively inspired by people that are prepared to put themselves out there, push their boundaries, take on stuff that seems insurmountable. And then you just think, well, how do I become the best version of myself? How do I, if I want to do X, what's the process I need to do? And, you know, when you're sailing out on the ocean, when you're on your own, you might not want to do that sail change. You might be really tired, but actually, you know that your competitors have done the sail change. So you've got to find it in you to go and do that sail change. And when you're on your own, it's really hard to find that inner voice to give you that motivation. So you need it from other people. You need it from other sources. And I think, you know, I consider myself very privileged to be doing what I do in the environment that I do it in. So I want to do the best job I can, and then capitalize on my position to make a difference. And, you know, that's why elite athletes are special, because they have this resilience and this tenacity within them to go and put in the hard miles, the hard graft, to get to those positions, to go and do something special. So I don't know what the magic potion is, and if we knew that, we'd bottle it and sell it and everyone would be doing it. But just by being on panels with people like yourself, you and Brent, it's a privilege for me, and I just think, God, that's really cool. But I've worked hard to get there, to be in this position, and it kind of inspires you and pushes you on to go and do a bit more.
Yeah, that's very well put. And it's an inspiration for me and an honor to be on the panel with you both. For me, I think one of the things I'd love to leave the audience with is that sports are fun. And so we talked a lot about how hard this is. And I think that the challenge of sports is one of the things that makes them fun from my experience. And, just because this is a really hard challenge, it doesn't mean that it can't be enjoyable to work on it with people like each other.
Yeah, I kind of just want to echo those thoughts. I've been talking a lot about digging deep and, getting through the adversity. But when we do that, there's celebration there. There's when we get, big hits or big punch outs or what have you in baseball, there's celebration there. And it's not, going after the other team and saying, look, I beat you, but it's celebrating with our team, with our teammates in our organization of getting through the big moment. So there's a lot of celebration to be had if we get through these environmental challenges better on the other side. But it's going to be the biggest celebration of all time because it's the biggest challenge I think humanity's ever faced. So just having that hope, keeping that hope there of, man, I want these oceans to be clean. I want this snow caps to come back. I want the forest to stay beautiful and get our society cyclical rather than linear. There's so many kind of hopeful opportunities on the other side of this problem, that we could have a beautiful world. We would fit right in the natural cycle. But right now we're just not there, and it's going to take some sacrifice, and it's going to take some challenging and some bringing together mentality of humanity to get there. So, but when we get there, we're going to celebrate, and we're going to celebrate every time we win the day with little sacrifices we make. Maybe it's meatless Mondays, maybe it's not going on that extra trip, planting some trees, growing a garden, composting successfully. There's all kinds of opportunities to celebrate each and every day with environmental wins. So just want to leave with that.
That's a nice way to end. Small steps of on the way to success. I would echo the positivity that you have both implied. I think we look at the recent Olympics cycle that we've been through and see that everyone has the ability to adapt and overcome. They didn't have any of their normal preparation. They went into Tokyo and delivered an outstanding Olympics that captivated all of us. We all had that little escapism watching them remotely, but perform to the best of their ability. And I think nature's kind of let us know that hope is not lost. In the last 18 months during a global pandemic that was terrible, nature gave us a hint that she can recover if we give her the chance and we help the process. So I really like these small steps. Everyone can make their small steps along the ladder to success and help nature on this process, because she shows us that the world can bounce back. We just got to give them a chance.
Perfect. Well, yeah, it's been an honor talking to you both. This is the highlight of my week, probably my month. And thank you for your contributions, and thank you people out there for listening.